Hello, everyone. Good morning, evening, afternoon to wherever you are in the world. And today we're back with episode 8, 9, or 7. I don't keep track, I just named them. Um, of Author's Purpose, where I ask authors what's the purpose of their stories, why they made their stories, etc., etc. And today we're here with the lovely and amazing author of Marvela Mystic. Could you tell us about yourself?
Well, hello. It's nice to be here. Um, I go by Kgravez on Wattpad, and that's Graves spelled with a Z. I'm 29 years old, and I'm looking forward to turning 30 this year. In my professional life, I'm a graphic designer and I'm a marketing coordinator for a construction and real estate company. Um, in my not so professional life, I'm an artist. I guess sometimes I draw things and then sometimes I write stuff. So I joined Wattpad back in, I think it was November 2019. That was when I first started writing my very first book. Um, and that was called Rise, the Red Sun Rapture Saga. And I'd never done any sort of creative writing until then. And the year after that, I completed my second book, Marvela Mystic. And I've completed two more books in the time since. And that's pretty much it. That brings us up to date.
So on a side note, like I just want to say like why I love your book because I usually do say that, and for me, what made your book like really really special and what caught my eye was the prose, like the way you wrote. It was just it was just amazing, and I started feeling ashamed of myself as a writer because I'm just like, how?
No, don't say that.
I
Aw,
really
I appreciate
I
it.
really did though, because it's just like so some authors I love their cover, I love their concept, I love their plot, etc., etc. But I just loved the way you wrote. Like it's just like it's so vivid. I can picture myself in the scenes, and then it's like you don't write too much where it's purple prose. You don't write too less where I'm just like, it's boring. It's just like you hit this sweet golden spot of writing that's just like how did you get there?
I have no idea how that happened. I hear a lot that I go way overboard with my descriptions. That's like the most common feedback I get. So, yeah,
Yeah,
that's great to hear. Thank you for that.
that is actually my most common feedback on my writing as well. I write too descriptive on certain mundane
Yeah,
things.
I like descriptions. It's great.
Yeah. So why did you decide to come on to the podcast today?
I've never been on a podcast before, so when you shot me a message on Wattpad and asked me to be on your show, I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Um, so here I am. I'm a little nervous, but I'm a little excited, but
Mhm.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. And like I've always said, like this podcast for me is kind of a safe space to talk to various authors about their books because I do feel like books on Wattpad and Inked especially get a bad rep for being bad or cliche. But I want to bring fans and readers that I want to show fans and readers that this is a myth. Like there are amazing books on Wattpad. You just got to kind of find them. So I'm doing the good work and I'm bringing them to various audiences. But what is your primary inspiration for your novel?
Um, my primary inspiration for Marvela. Okay, so I think we have to go back in time for this.
Hmm.
Um, Believe it or not, the original first draft from Marvel and Mystic was actually written back when I was like 6 years old.
Hmm.
Um, and that's written with air quotes, by the way. It wasn't even a story, really. It was just an idea. But
Hmm.
I drew the original book cover in crayon on construction paper, and maybe I wrote a few sentences, also in crayon, probably. But the story was actually it was actually inspired by my favorite stuffed animal back then,
Hmm.
who was a black cat named Matilda, and she became the main character. So the story was actually called Matilda Mystic back then, and all the other animal characters in the story were also based on my stuffed animals. So Curious, the rat, he was a rat named Cheese,
Hmm.
and there was I think there was a dog named Bone. Oh, these are all very great, super clever names. And in this version, I think Matilda, she didn't actually even have magical powers.
Huh.
There was no witchcraft at all. She was just like given a magical amulet that was created by a scientist, and
Hmm.
that was it. That was the entire story.
Hmm.
So, flash forward to March and April 2020, the plague year.
Oh, you're right about that.
And I'm like, I think I'm like 27 years old then. I don't know. I can't do math. I went to art school. Uh, Back then, I used to work for a hotel slash resort, which wasn't great during the first few months of the pandemic. So my job actually shut down and I got furloughed for what would end up being 6 entire months.
Mm.
So I moved back into my parents' house and I had nothing to do for months on end. And I was like, you know what? I've already written one book. Let's see if I can do it again.
And you
And I
did it.
did.
Yep.
So, since I already had this inkling of a story in my head, I plotted it out and I wrote every single day for like 2 or 3 weeks straight.
Hmm.
Um, on my parents' screened-in porch in the sunshine with a drink in hand, and I finished the first official draft of Marvela Mystic in that time. And I had my cat Moki to give me inspiration for Marvela. He's buddy. He's actually sitting next to me right now. He's a black cat with orange eyes, and he's got a little white spot in his chest. It's not a star spot like Marvelous spot, but that's where her design came from. So
Hmm.
that is the story behind Marvel Mystic.
Hmm. It like it's kind of. I'm like
Yeah,
I'm I'm inspired, but at the same time I'm kind of disappointed in myself because you telling me you wrote the first draft in 2 weeks.
I didn't have a job. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay. Okay. Maybe that could give you some leeway, but still, 2 weeks, 14 days.
Yeah, I had nothing else to do.
And then I kind of find it also like just identifying the parallels. I've been writing since I was like 8, and like these stories that I'm just now committing to like finish writing as books. I've been having these ideas since I was like 8, 9, and 10, so it's just kind of crazy.
That's really cool.
um, I wanted to ask you as well. What did your writing process? Well, I guess you kind of already answered this. What did your writing process look like with this book? But
Hmm.
but could you provide me like some key moments, some times you were just sometimes you were just like, wow, I did that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. I was like, I don't know. Like I never imagined writing one book, let alone two book, but hey, I surprised myself.
Hmm. So what do you think for this particular novel is like the best thing? Like, what do you think you did the best in this novel, and what did you think you did the worst?
Okay. So I have the same answer for both questions,
Hmm.
and it's descriptions.
Uh,
I
agreed.
get lots of compliments on my descriptions.
Hmm.
Um, I'm a very visual person. Like I said, I'm an artist. I like to draw things. I've got strong visual imagery in my head that I want to get down on paper. I love describing things. So,
Hmm.
my first book that I mentioned before, Rise, was actually never meant to be a book. I was planning on making it into a graphic novel actually until I changed plans. So,
Hmm.
I do have very strong visuals in mind for my stories because I do see them as comic panels in my head, I guess. Um, and I want the scenes and moments in my stories to have the same kind of impact as a really dramatic comic page. I don't know
Hmm.
if that makes sense, but that's
It
kind of
does.
like yeah.
Um.
But at the same time, the most like I said, the most common critique I also get is also about my descriptions. Like
Mhm.
I have a bad habit of over describing things. And sometimes I feel like readers are like, Jesus Christ, you've spent sentences just describing dust. Can we move on with the story already? but that's
I
an exaggeration, but
Yeah, I know. I read the book. So like the best thing I think you did well was definitely the descriptions. I actually read your book
Aw.
in one day, in one sitting. Um,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
short little book, itty bitty.
And that was surprising for me because I can't. Like I don't do that. I usually like break it up into like two chapters a day over a long period of time. But it was just something about the way you wrote that just made me just swipe over to the next next chapter, and then eventually I was just like, that's it. I'm finished already.
Yeah. Well, thanks, I like hearing that. It is a bit fast-paced. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's too fast-paced. I am gonna edit it in the future. I don't know.
And that was my really my only. I did catch one grammatical error, but
Mhm.
it wasn't a big deal.
Oh,
I think
you
you
gotta let
said
me know what it is.
I I I think you said like taught instead of like, because it was the scene where the spirit was getting tied up and it was supposed to be tight, but I think you said taught instead.
Ah. Oh,
I'm gonna have to go
I'm
back.
making a note of that. I will investigate that.
Hmm. But I might be wrong at misremembering. Maybe that's just what I read. But Um, in my critique, it would mostly be the like kind of the pacing and the ending. Like for the
Yep.
ending, I had a bitter like it was bittersweet for me because I was just like I love it and I hate it at the same time because I just felt like I feel like that with a lot of things. Don't.
I've gotten that a lot. I get it. I totally get it. And it's supposed to be bittersweet, but I don't like happy endings. So
Yeah, but I feel like it was too happy. I
too
was like,
happy.
yes, because I was honestly, if I'm being honest with myself as a reader, I was looking for either two things of happening. Either the witches that were killed to stay dead, and Marvela to be like, this sacrifice, but I'm going to move on, like that kind of thing. Or
Uh-huh.
I was looking for and I can't pronounce her name. The antagonist. Can you? I'm so bad at names.
Azra?
Asra, there it is.
Azra.
Asra. I was looking for her to actually win. I'm sorry.
You know,
That's so terrible, but I'm just waiting on the day the villain wins. I think that's just a me thing though.
we are
Um
exactly the same way because that was my inspiration for this book because I was a weird little kid and I love that kind of stuff. I wanted to see the villain win. So that's I'll be honest, the first draft of this book was way darker. But I was like, wait, this is a book for children.
yeah, you got me there. Cuz reading it from like a children's lens, it's literal
Mhm.
gold. But like reading it from
Aw,
like a dark, cuz I'm very into dark fantasy. I'm
me
just like
too. I love dark stuff.
I'm just like it needs to be a little bit more darker. um but then
I had to really hold back on the dark
mhm,
stuff. Oh god, it was a struggle.
I definitely believe you because it's just like because some moments I was just like, okay, we were trying to get really dark there, but then we did a new paragraph, especially like the moment where Mabel's home uh gets burned down. And I'm just like,
Yep,
oh, this is really gonna get dark for a second.
we're off to a good start.
Mhm. And then like I didn't really have a big issue. It's just like if I were nitpicking to find something to be wrong with it, I did feel like in one instance that we were moving a bit fast in the
Yeah.
friendships. Like it was just like, I saved you that one time. You're my friend now.
It's the magic of friendship. That's
Yes.
the whole story.
Um, but I do want to but I do definitely want to see more of this world. I It
Yeah.
definitely left me with questions on like how did the spirits come to be? How long do the spirits live? What is magic?
Hmm.
Is magic like I know they're alive, but like are they like the god of this universe or the god of universes? Like what is like I just have so many questions about the lore and the universe and like certain minute details.
That's great, and I'm gonna pretend I have answers for all those questions and just, say, "Hey, you'll find out in the sequel, maybe, if there is a sequel."
Snaps, snaps, snaps. We need a sequel. Petition a sequel. And I was just like, for this was definitely a me thing because I'm weird. This is not critique. I just want to preface that. I was very confused on why I can't pronounce her name again.
Azra?
Azra. I'm very bad with names, just so you know. Azra didn't just want to go with the spirit, because honestly, I just I don't see what's left in the earth with recent events. I would have went with the spirit any day. I would have stayed there for eternity. And it's okay if I have to go fetch some plants for you to do this potion every now and again.
I
But
should have thought about that because, again, this was written during the plague. So, yeah, I totally feel that.
yes, I was just like, because she was like, I will not, I'm just so much better than everyone. I'm going to take over this world. You can be my familiar. And I'm just
And
like,
she gets to be a cat. That's great.
yes, yes. And I'm just like, that's not me, bro. Like I'm gonna go to the spirit. Then he was so nice to you. He brought you back to life. How many times? 8 times. He wasn't even being mean to you. He said, "Just come with me. It's time to go, old friend." Up here, packing my bags. Packing my bags. Here I come. because
Let's go. Let's dive into that portal. Bye, losers.
because I was just so confused. Like you're gonna be his servant for almost eternity, and he's been treating you nice. It's not like he's beating you or trying to do weird things to you. So I'm just very confused and conflicted on your opposition.
That is all completely valid. I like that.
So I was just like, so when I was reading the book, I was just like, oh, we're finna meet the spirit, and he's finna be like the devil incarnated. He's finna try to kill people. Da da da
He's
da.
a chill dude.
Yeah, and he's just so
Turns
chill, and
out
I'm just like, I'm going with you. Like, where are you at?
he's
Where are
actually
you at?
kind of like, I like it that he's kind of a joke in the spirit world. All the other spirits are like, it's light. That's light.
Hmm. I felt like that definitely added a level of personality to the book because I just wasn't expecting it, and it wasn't a that's a bad. I'm not expecting it. It was like honestly, that's comical, and I feel like that's what you were going for, and I just
Yeah.
love that. So could you tell me what are the common traps for up and coming writers or new authors or whatever the term we may use?
Common traps. I think, I think, yeah, I think really your own mind can be the biggest trap especially when you're starting out, like as an aspiring writer.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you've got your story idea in your head, and that's great. And you've never written anything before. So, like, you look at what other people are writing and publishing, and you start thinking, and that's bad. You shouldn't think. You're like, well, this story idea has been done 1,000 times before, so why should I bother? Or you think, look at all these other writers who are way better than me.
Mm-hmm.
Stop that. Stop thinking. Just, I don't know, just write, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did. Like, I don't know, I wasn't a writer until I wrote something. So, like, yeah, maybe, okay, you're right. Your idea has been done a million times before, but it's never been done by you. There is no such thing as an original idea. And about all those other writers, I mean, they all started just like you as a beginner with a blank page. But they started, you know?
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. Like me starting off writing, I was just like, "And nobody's gonna read it. Oh, this person has a million reads and this and that. And that kind of made me stay in this stage of plotting and plotting and plotting and plotting until I just
Yeah.
finally sat down and was just like, I haven't grown as a writer in the last 2 or so years because I haven't wrote anything.
Yeah.
um,
Like, I think the first time I hit publish on Wattpad and I published my very first chapter, I was like, oh shit, here we go.
mhm,
It's happening.
mhm. And I definitely want to add on to what you said, like with the mind thing, and say I don't think you should expect to improve nor have success just like in a short time. It's gonna take it's gonna take years to get like
Yeah. Exactly.
popular and get millions of reads. Like you're looking at books that have been here for like a decade, and you're saying they
Like,
have a million reads. I mean, they've been
yeah.
here for quite the long time.
All
Um,
those people with like a million followers or whatever on Wattpad, they all started with 0 followers. They worked their way up. You can
exactly.
too.
Exactly, and don't like, And I know it's kind of said and tried and tested, but just don't expect success overnight because I feel like when I'm talking to a lot of newer authors, they just like, "Oh, I published my first chapter. Where's my 1,000 views already?
Where are my adoring fans?
Where is my dedicated fan base?
Where is my big giant check?
Where is my new dream house and dream boat?" Like it's like
I'm waiting for that movie deal.
uh,
Anytime now.
and just by the way, you need a movie deal. I would love to see this. I would love to see this in the movie.
Oh,
And make
stop,
sure to get it
stop.
on DVD or Blu-ray because I want to put it. I want to replay it. I don't want to go see it one time.
Aw, stop it.
Because like I honestly believe like some of the scenes, they were like they were so like vivid in my mind at least that I'm just like, I'm literally sitting here in this universe. Like
Oh, that's great. I like to hear that. Those descriptions again. There I go.
there you go. Yep. I just think I just absorb description words. So I think I think that's a major thing that I love in writing. Cause if it's no visuals in the writing, I get bored really easy.
Me too. Like you create this entire, well, not you specifically, but someone,
Hmm.
you create this entire world for me and you don't let me get to go play in it. Like, what am I supposed to envision here? Tell me.
And then I feel like when you do descriptions, it adds a depth like to your work. It makes me start questioning more and what's the limits of your world. And then when I finish the book, it's still on my mind because I'm having questions like, what are the spirits? Where did they come from? How long have they been here? Like, you know, like that's an example from your book. But could you tell me like about your reactions winning the Waddies and if it was just like a oh, I knew that I was going to win, or if it was more like a, oh, I just won.
Okay. So yeah, I got the email saying that two of my stories made it to the short list, and it was Marvela Mystic, and it was one of my other books. And I mean, I was excited, but at the same time, I was like, Wattpad, I think you made a mistake here. Why? And then I got the email saying that Marvel actually won the Waddies. And I remember having to reread that email over and over again. I was like, yeah, Wattpad, okay, yeah, you definitely made a mistake. Um, because this is my second time entering the Waddies, and it was all just shock and disbelief. Like,
Mhm,
I don't know. When I got that email, I don't know if I had any good feelings about it because there were much more deserving books that were submitted.
mhm.
Um, and if I'm being honest, I'm still struggling to decide if my story really deserved the win. Um,
Oh no,
and
don't
maybe
say
it
that.
doesn't now, but maybe I can make it into something more worthwhile in the next round of edits. But
Honestly,
ooh,
uh,
I'm honestly more flattered that both covers made the best cover shortlist because I like my covers.
and don't you do your covers yourself?
I do. I like doing my covers.
Mhm. I do my covers myself as well, but I do more like
Oh, cool.
abstract covers.
I
Um,
think like making covers like the most fun part of making the book. I like
it
that
is,
more than
it is
writing.
like I can spend days making covers, just editing little
Yeah.
details. Um,
Exactly. That's what I do. Like every month, gotta edit it again. Keep
mhm.
on editing it. It's never done.
And then sometimes I like to do like theme covers. So like maybe near Halloween we get a spooky spooky cover.
That that's cute. I like that. Like put a little Christmas hat on it for Christmas. I like that.
um, but I definitely believe like I've interviewed my fair share of Waddy's winners. And it's just like the thing that I've noticed. This is all anecdotal, so I'm not no professional, guys. Nor am I on the decision board of who wins the Waddies. But from my experience of interviewing the people who won the Waddies, over the years, it's kind of they all have this aura about them, whether that be with their prose, their covers, their plot. They always have this like it's just like kind of a spark. I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like when you read the book, but it's not like other books. It's like it's it makes me want to root for these characters. It makes me believe in these characters. It makes me empathize with these characters, and it's very memorable. Like I can tell you some Wattpad winners that I've interviewed, and I can tell you still specific scenes from their books, even though they won the Waddies like 3 years ago. Like, and that's primarily the audience. That's primarily the authors I interview on this podcast because it's just like I truly believe that if you read these, they're going to stick around with you and you're going to take something, a valuable lesson from them.
Oh, well, that's very interesting to hear. And I'll have to check out more Waddy's winners because I don't. I'll be honest, I don't do a lot of reading, but
I'm a reader.
yeah. But that is interesting that you say that.
um, so as a writer, what like symbol, thing, person, place, most embodies your writing? So like for me, for example, I feel like the like the let me think. I can't even answer my own question. I had it in my mind. No, you go first and then I'll answer.
Okay. Let's see. What symbol, idea, phrase? Phrase. Okay. What about write drunk, edit drunk? Can I say that? Does that count?
I guess so. I mean, if that's what you believe.
um, but I also think like a cat could represent my writing style because like
Mhm,
I have a few days where I can crank out chapter after chapter, and I'm like, yes, I can finish this book in like a month. But then like cats sleep for like 15 hours a day. And just like that, I can lose all motivation and go dormant for weeks or even months. And I won't write a single word.
mhm. I have not followed you long enough to comment on that, so I'll get back to you in a couple months. um, but far as I am, I think my my writing symbol would probably be a microphone, oddly enough. And
Hmm.
I feel like it works when it wanna works, and it's very if when it does work, it's very crisp, it's very concise, it's very detailed. and when and it can drive you crazy sometimes because sometimes you're just like that microphone, it's so very expensive, but it's worth it, if that
That's
makes
very clever.
sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
And I think that kind of connects the two like overarching personal things that I have in my life, which is my podcast, my writing, and my reading. And I think that connects them all.
Yeah.
But I do like yours as well because sometimes you just need to be intoxicated to let it all go and to let it all on the paper.
Yeah. There you go.
So, what is the major like story slash theme that you try to put onto the readers with your novel?
Um, I don't know if I'm really good with themes, like even if my in my own writing, but I guess maybe embracing change.
Yeah, that's the.
Whether that yeah, whether that be like change in the world
It's like
or a change in yourself or maybe the people in your life change or maybe your life changes because of those people either through their presence or their absence, you
mhm.
know?
I definitely got the change. That was literally in my notes because I write notes on books. Haha, look at me trying to be professional. But in my notes, that's what I kind of thought the theme was. About how change is not necessarily good or bad. It is what we make of it. Like we had negative
Yeah.
change in the sense that I forget her name again.
Azra.
Azra, my bad.
Azra.
Azra, she's been hurt and she let that change in her life manifest into something ugly and nasty. Like she had to be
Yeah.
good at one point because magic gave her magic, so, you know, there was something
Yeah, that's a
there.
good point. Yeah.
And I feel like she just let an instance and an events in her life shape her instead of
Mhm.
shaping them. Um,
Yeah.
while with Marvela, hmm, Marvel. Marvela.
Marvel.
She had a very traumatic experience of losing our witch, and instead of becoming like I forgot her name again,
You can do it. I believe in you.
Astra.
There you
Oh,
go, kind of.
kind of, not necessarily. Instead of becoming like the main antagonist, she chose to better herself with that change. Um, so I just kind of felt like the theme of this novel was basically change is change. It's not good or bad, but it's
Mhm.
always going to happen. Make sure
Yeah,
it's
and I
good
think
change.
yeah, and I think maybe accepting loss is also a part of that. Maybe that's another theme too,
Mhm.
because I don't really like completely happy endings. I
Snaps.
feel like there always needs to be some sacrifice involved to make a good ending more impactful, you know? So,
Mhm.
spoiler alert, but I've gotten some comments about people being upset that a certain character does not come back to life at the end. And and I get that, but at the same time, I also received some feedback saying that they appreciated that that said character remained dead, and Marvel had to process that that character was gone forever. Um,
Mhm.
Especially in what was ultimately a children's book. So, I mean, she wasn't completely gone. She still lived on in a way inside Marvela,
Mhm.
but like learning to live a changed life after a loss is an important lesson to take to heart, I think. And that's what I tried to convey.
Hmm. I definitely I definitely got that message because time and time again we talked like in the novel you talked about you know my Marvela would be like my witch she's gone, my witch she's that, oh maybe my witch is alive, can you bring her back alive, oh nope she's not coming back alive. And I felt like it was like it 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 articulated what it needed to far as grieving. First, she was
Mhm.
very angry. She got sad. She got distraught. She even went through acceptance a couple of times, only to be brought back down, realizing
Yeah.
that once you hit acceptance, you're not always going to be in acceptance with a loss. You're going to go through cycles. You're going to go through the cycles of
Yeah.
grieving over and over again. It's not like I hit acceptance this one time. Now I'm totally over my dead parent, my dead best friend, my dead relative. It doesn't work like that. And I like how she regressed, progressed, and she continues to grow. So I definitely got that theme as well.
Yeah, like grief is something that it'll hit you in like new in different ways every way for every day for the rest of your life. And I don't know, that's something that's very potent in my mind.
Mhm. So could you tell me like what did you edit out of this book?
Oh boy. I told you that the original version was darker, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be honest, Marvel and Mystic was a bit of a fluke because normally I write dark, violent, young adult books with
Mm-hmm.
character death and swearing.
Mm-hmm.
So writing Marvel and Mystic, which was a cutesy middle grade book about magical cats, really forced me out of my comfort zone a little bit. Um, but it was still hard to shake my kind of writing tendencies, uh, my tendency to write for an older audience. So first of all, the spirits weren't spirits in the first draft. They were demons. They were
Oh.
straight up demons. I mean, they were chill demons, but they were still demons. Um, Branwyn, oh my god, Branwyn actually freaking died at the end.
Oh.
The original draft of my Happy Magical Cat book had a body count.
Hmm.
And then
I
I
mean,
think the
it
biggest
still
change,
does. It still does.
yeah, but you know, it's less of a body count.
Okay, we gotta give you
I
credit where
made
your
an
credit
effort
is
to make
due.
it happier. And then the oh gosh, the entire tone of the whole Rat King scene was completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know how the Rat King are they're currently goofy and they're not really threatening in the
Mm-hmm.
current draft.
Yeah.
Um in the original draft, I went overboard on the descriptions. I I described them as way more grotesque and monstrous. They were horrifying.
Oh,
Um
they were so horrifying. That was one of the scenes that I didn't like it in the sense that it was bad. I didn't like it because it made me like crawl. Like it made me feel like things were
Ooh,
crawling on me because it's just
yeah.
like all of them rats tied up together. I already don't like rats. So
And rat kings are a real thing. They happen in real life.
I'm sure they do.
They
Reality
do.
is often stranger than fiction. But
But they
it's
were worse than the original draft. Oh God.
I can't even imagine
Hmm?
it. Especially when you were describing them and Marvela was just like, "Oh my god, it's a being with like 6, 8 eyes. Oh, we got 4 legs." And then you was like, "Oh, that's just a bunch of rats tied together by a
Just
tail."
a bunch of rats. And yet Marla, she was terrified by them in the first draft, and like she had a right to be, I think. I had a reader or two, like they even told me, yeah, that rat king, he's a bit much.
Mm.
That's too much. That's too far. Like at a certain point I had to remind myself, wait, this is a book for kids.
Snaps to that. What was the funnest scene for you to write?
mm, so actually, mm, I think I actually really like the slow, emotional kind of scenes.
Hmm.
Like, I liked writing Marvelous Return to Gridgeford Forest, where she visited the smoldering remains of her cottage.
She was like, "This
Um,
doesn't feel like home anymore." That hit my heart.
yeah, it was very sad. I loved it,
I
and
loved it.
I I enjoy, and I also enjoyed writing Marvela's quiet moment with Midnight in that one chapter.
Hmm.
Um, and that's a kind of scene that happens a lot in my stories. Like, there's always a somber moment, kind of near the end,
Hmm.
where the hero is like at their lowest point and they're struggling to find the will to go on. And they meet this other character who gives them another option and lets them know that, hey, you can definitely stop fighting and just walk away from this if you want. But like after, of course, after some thought, that conversation was what usually inspires the hero to keep fighting.
Hmm.
I don't know. I like little moments like that. I like giving my heroes an out just because I love seeing them reject that notion and carry on.
Hmm.
Um,
It is definitely
ooh,
interesting and it's effective because I
yeah.
never did that before. In my writing, I always so what I call it is the darkest moment of the soul, where in the novel the hero doesn't feel like they can complete the task. Um,
Hmm.
and I've never wrote it out in the sense that it was like a character coming in saying like, I've been through something similar to you and this is what I did, and they reject that notion. I had two
Yeah.
different interpretations. Like I had a character who had the character come up to them like, you can not be that or you can not do that, and they actually accepted. And it was kind of sad because it's like that story I had to scrap because the ending was just like they accepted that. It was nothing more for them to do. They felt hopeless. They never got out of that darkest moment. And I was an angsty teen. Um slim, but um and I feel like
But
that ending just didn't work with what I was trying to convey. And I kind of do feel
I
like bittersweet endings are the best endings because
I
sad
do,
endings
yeah.
make me go like, oh, I'm sad. Happy endings make me go like, they was gonna get here anyway, no matter what happened. And then
Yeah,
bittersweet is just,
predictable.
enough.
Yeah, there needs to be some sacrifice, like I said, to make the happy ending worth it. You gotta,
Hmm.
you gotta give something. But um I think I also liked writing any scene with Freckle in it because I love him. Um, he is a completely useless character, but I'm just happy he's there.
I'm just happy he's there.
I
Oh.
think the most exhausting scenes to write, action scenes in general, wear me out because, like, it's like, shit, I have to choreograph this and also have to make it fast paced and also make it make sense. So, like, the final battle at the end was a bit of a headache.
Mhm. The funnest scene to read as a reader would be okay. I have two. I have an emotional one and I have an action packed one. Funnest
Mm.
one was definitely by far for emotional was the scene where she came back and she was talking to her old friends and she was like, "Well, this doesn't feel like home anymore." I was just like, "Oh my."
Yeah.
And I feel like that can happen to anyone. Your house doesn't even have to burn down. You can go off to high school, college, uh, get a new job, and you can just feel like the place that you're at is no longer where you want or need to be. And that kind
Yeah.
of hit home, because it's just like sometimes, I get that feeling like it's time to move on.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that's why I would
life
have
moves
packed my bags and went with that spirit.
on.
But
Go to
anyway.
Spirit World. Let's go.
Like, if spirits are real, hit me up. You're hearing this, I'm ready. Um,
Yes.
but make sure you're not demons because I don't.
They're chill demons. They're chill demons. They're cool.
The fact that you have demon in your name is a red flag, so I'm not going with you.
Right.
You might treat me
Mm.
nice for the next 1,000 years, but after that, you're gonna be trying to treat me like a slave. No. And the most action-packed scene was definitely the end, because
Yeah.
it was just like I'm a twisted reader, so I definitely just loved when the spirit was just getting chained up by the corals and he was dying. He was like he wasn't.
Flight, so useless.
I was just like I was just getting weak because they made these spirits seem so powerful, so benevolent,
No.
and no, you're being useless. And then
And,
you
like,
want to
all the
come in
spirits are
at
laughing
the
at him
end
too.
and be like, you know what? I can save the witches with you if you combine the power with me. Where were you at? Where were you at in this fight?
That's a good point. It's a fair point.
So it wasn't bad. I'm just saying it was a bad thing. I just find it funny. It's just like,
That's really funny though. And, like, all the spirits in the spirit world, just like they're watching everything that's
yeah.
happening, just like flight, just laughing at him.
They're just like, we're gonna make fun of him. If he comes back.
If
Didn't they go? They was like, well, we tell him not to go. So if he gets stuck out there, I mean, he just gets stuck out there.
yeah, we're just gonna sit here. We're just gonna sit here and enjoy the show.
Mhm. But the mouse one, the mouse spirit gave fondness in my heart. I feel for you, mouse. I don't know why we got a connection, but we do.
The little tiny guy.
hmm Um, how long does it take you to write a novel?
I think a few months maybe. It's different. It was different for every book. Okay.
hmm
So, Rise the Red Sun Rapture. My first book was a 170,000 word monstrosity. And I think that took me 3 to 4 months to write. Um, Marvela Mystic, it's about 50K words. And like I said, that took like less less than a month to write because I was unemployed. Um, the Dark Between Dreams, which I wrote for ONC last year, that took about 3 months. That one was a struggle. Like I seem to be losing more and more steam the more books I write.
hmm
And then the book following that, Hollow is the Heart, which is the second book in the Dark Between Dreams Chronicle, that I think that was about 60K words, and that took like 7 months.
hmm
That took too dang long. So it really varies. I have issues with motivation, and
Me too. Don't
I
have a struggle.
yeah I
We're
yeah,
in a bit of a
yeah,
situationship. Me and
yeah.
motivation. They act like they're
It
here one
comes and it
day, and
goes.
then the other day they're not.
Yeah, like I'll just sit there sitting at a blank Google
hmm
document, just like yeah, not today.
Yeah, not today.
But
Maybe tomorrow, and then tomorrow
maybe
comes.
tomorrow, maybe not. But
hmm
like I don't know how I managed to write Rise in the time frame that I did, but I will never do it again.
You're gonna do that with the sequel, right?
Oh God.
I expect to have you on the podcast by April, so you need a new book out and
Oh
complete
God.
it by April.
All right, I'll get cracking.
I'll get on that.
Yes, sir.
So, what influenced you, like, to be an author? What was that? If you had one moment that was just like, oh yeah, I'm going to be an author now, or if it was just like a combination of moments.
Okay. So I never expected to be an author.
Mhm.
I never wanted to write. I don't like writing, believe it or not.
Snaps to that.
But I like I like sharing stories. And I have like this one big story which ended up being Rise stuck in my head since I was a little anime obsessed teenager,
Mhm.
that I thought was the greatest thing, and I really wanted to share it with the world, but I wanted to make it into a graphic novel series first, not a book. I had no interest in writing, so like I said, I hate writing. Um, and I was excited to do that, but then I did the math, and I realized that that would involve illustrating over 1,000 pages. And I had to be honest with myself and realize that there was no way in hell I would finish that. So
Mhm.
after letting that stew for a couple of years, I did the next best thing, and that was write it as a book. So for the record, Rise has since been I unpublished that from my Wattpad because it's hot garbage. And I say that with love.
I understand.
it's
My
it's
first book,
awful.
Built for Pain. Oh wow.
Oh
Oh,
wow.
oh wow. I wrote
Like
that.
you're so proud of it when you first make it. You're like, "Yeah, I
Yeah,
made this."
this is I'm the next Stephen King in the making. Buy my book.
Yeah.
um
Um, but then you read it again, and it's like,
and you're
"Oh
like,
my oh,
but
it's
that's
this is
good
not
because
good."
you grew as an author. You can realize your faults now, so
Exactly. It's good when your old writing makes you cringe.
but not too much, hopefully.
Oh,
Not
no, a
too much
lot.
that
But I learned so much from writing it and all the feedback that I received from it, and I've since moved on to other writing projects, and I've used what I've learned from Rise into those. So,
Mhm.
it was a learning process, and I appreciate it. It was fun.
So, are you planning to write a sequel for Marvela Mystic? And could you share,
Ooh,
like, if you are, just a tiny bit about it, just a
a
tease?
sequel. Uh-oh. So,
I
I
do.
am
Go ahead. Okay, I want to say I do think there is potential for a secret, but I don't
Mhm.
think it could be with Marvela.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
yeah. So, that's exactly why I'm only considering a sequel. Like, I don't know if Marvel and Mystic even needs a sequel, but the idea is there. I made a cover for it and everything. What will happen in that book, I don't know. But it's called okay, well, the idea for the sequel is called Marvel and Mystic and the Never Ending Night.
Hmm.
And my idea is just like, just like the first book, like it takes place on Halloween. So it's like a Halloween themed book. It's the next Halloween after the first book.
1 year
So
later.
yeah, so maybe the characters are a little older, which I'm not too much a fan of because I like them being babies. They're kittens, they're puppies, and they need to stay that way. But yeah, it takes place on the next Halloween, so I guess maybe they'll be older. But I think it's like 11:59 on the night of October 30th, and then time just stops. And then for some reason, like all non-magical people and animals are frozen in time. So it's up to Marvela and Curious to figure out what the heck is happening. What
Hmm.
is happening? I don't know. But I haven't planned that far, but that's that's my idea.
I was like, I was like, I was like, okay, so animals can talk, but only people that have magic can hear them talk.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
Freckles, I think, did I remember correctly?
Hmm. Yeah,
Freckles did
magic.
not talk, and I was very distraught about that.
He
I was just
didn't
like,
want
"What
to
are you hiding? What are you hiding?
talk.
What are you hiding?"
Maybe he'll say something in the sequel. Maybe he'll just like and and that'll be
That'll
it.
be the
He'll
first and only
skip
thing he
spoiler.
says.
Just
No, because that really concerned me. Because then then his witch is going to be like, he's shy. No, he's hiding something. No, that's not an excuse. He didn't talk this
maybe
whole
that's all my
novel.
secret.
So I was
Maybe we'll
just
find out.
very concerned.
Maybe he'll be the villain for the next book. We
Dun
don't
dun
know.
dun.
Michael.
um, so can you? I love this question, by the way. Can you give me some insight to your three main characters, which is Sable, Marvela, and I forgot her name. Oh my god. You
You
and
can do it.
I
You
always
can
want to
do
say
it.
Asta, but that's not it. That's not. And I know.
Hasta la vista. Hey, that's it. That's close.
Astra? Astra?
Azra? Azra?
Asra.
I'll be honest, I don't even know how to pronounce it myself. I just say Azra.
Azra. Azra. Okay.
Yeah.
Azra, Sable, and Marvela. Could you like what
Okay.
are their process? How do they deal with their problems?
Well, Sable is only in the book for like a chapter and then she explodes. So there you go.
Well, technically she's been here this whole time within Marvel.
True, but then that's Marvela doing all the work.
But she's back there. She's doing something. She's giving the magic.
Yeah,
She's
she's
giving the gift that keeps
co-piloting.
giving.
um, yeah, Sable, I guess, I don't know, she inspired Marvela. I guess that's all she did.
Mhm,
Um, and Marvela's kind-hearted nature, she got that from Sable, I suppose. So
mhm,
Marvela, yeah, through Sable. So Marvela she's a kitten. She's naive and sheltered, just a little baby kitten, and she
mhm,
sees the good in everything. Like even when it isn't really there. And I think she got that from Sable. So I
mhm,
don't see her as one to start fights or even a fight back mostly, but she's a child thrown into a world that she has no knowledge of.
mhm,
So she tries to solve her new problems in the same way that she's always had, with the magic of friendship, and
mhm.
somehow that works.
Um, what about
And then
Azra? I think I got it right.
Azra. Hey, you got her name. You did
Yeah, I did it.
it. um, Honestly, I feel like I need to flesh her out more.
Mhm.
There's room for lots of growth in there.
I do believe that too, because what I'm picking up on is trauma.
Yeah, lots of drama
But at the
and lots
same time, because I was just waiting. I was waiting on the moment where we actually got like what happened between. Because I know she says like, "Oh, Sable, you weren't there when the mortals, burnt me for the first time." But girl, you got burnt 7 more times. What happened?
yeah, like that's on you. The first time, okay, shame on me. The next 7 times, I think you have a problem.
Yeah, and then also, I don't think that's in Sable's character not to do everything she can for people. So I'm thinking like Sable really had an issue on
Mm,
why she couldn't help.
uh-oh.
So,
You might be right. But yeah, like you said, Azra, she's been through a lot in her past, and maybe that's a result of her own doing. But I guess she's the complete opposite of Marvela in that she sees the world and everything in it as inherently bad, and so she herself must be bad in order to subjugate it and rebuild it how she wants.
mhm. So, do you have like any unpublished books on Wattpad, and are you ever planning on publishing them?
I had some books that were published and then I took down. So like I said, there was the Red Sun Rapture Saga, my very first book, my
Mhm.
little ugly baby,
Not ugly,
which was
baby.
that's what it is.
That's a book only
But
that author could love.
yeah, that's why I had to unpublish it. But it was originally meant to be a trilogy.
Mhm,
It was about demons and the slow death of the world and an eventual battle between heaven and hell. So it sounded really cool in my head, but the story was just, I don't know, the story was a mess.
mhm,
And it would take far too much time and energy to publish into something good.
mhm,
And also, it just wasn't a very marketable story. So
mhm,
I considered it a learning experience. I unpublished it and I moved on. Um, and then,
mhm.
hmm, Uh, After that, so I started a werewolf story a few years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and this was shortly after I finished Marvel, actually. So this werewolf story was actually kind of meant to be my response to the Wattpad werewolf genre
Mm-hmm.
because I love werewolves, but I really hate Wattpad
It's okay.
werewolves.
I'm glad we came to a consensus because I was just like,
Oh, I like
I
hearing that.
trust you because you wrote this book. That your Wattpad story is going to be good. But if it's like
Uh,
the Wattpad stories, oh wow.
yeah. So I always hated the mate tropes. I think it's really, really gross. And the packs and the alpha, beta, whatever dynamics that are in Wattpad books, Wattpad werewolf books.
See, I don't
Um,
mind those tropes because it's just like that's not what makes the story bad. It's like because if you have a very interesting story about how alphas on top, omegas are secondary or last, and you talk about the power dynamics, and you have like a very like talking about society, you're doing it to talk about society and how society has, different things that play into people being successful and who's not. Like I feel like that could be very interesting. Same with
yeah,
finding true love and realizing like mates don't exist, or even if mates do exist, how it would be weird for your mate to be someone that you don't even like. Um,
exactly. And these
like,
are like it can be done well with like interesting spins on it, but and I have read good Wattpad werewolf books that do
mhm,
have those tropes in it, but for the
but
most
it's
part, I'm just
just
like,
like yes, for the most part, you're
you're not
mishandling it.
bringing anything new to the table.
And then the
So
things that you're bringing to the tables is just problematic at best,
yeah,
and
problematic, very problematic.
and if not problematic, utterly downright disrespectful and rude. So,
Exactly. Like, and I hate that most werewolves on Wattpad just seem to turn into oversized wolves, and I wanted actual monsters,
mhm,
not big wolves. So I started writing this one werewolf story, and that was kind of like what I would do if I was a werewolf. So it's like it's like a werewolf vigilante story,
hmm,
featuring a female protagonist, and she gets infected with werewolfism, and then she uses it to fight crime.
hmm,
And it's kind of fun. It poked fun at all the, the Wattpad tropes, and it
hmm,
poked fun at the common misconceptions I see about wolves on about wolves on
hmm,
Wattpad. Like, wolves don't have blue eyes, or the whole alpha pack structure is
yeah,
most likely erroneous. Wolves don't actually do that. But
mhm,
I got like 3 chapters into it and then I gave up and I unpublished it. I didn't plan that story at all, which is unlike me, and that's probably why I crashed and burned.
oh,
So, maybe I'll revisit it in the future because I like the idea.
I do
You know,
too.
every time I read a Wattpad werewolf book, I get the urge to revisit it, but at this time, it most likely won't happen. I keep waffling about it, but
Hmm.
this and the Red Sun Rapture will probably remain unfinished, and I'm content with that.
Well, it's all about the author. Um, but could you tell me like the ideal reader? Who was the reader you wrote Marvela Mystic for?
So, when I was a kid, a weird little kid, I got really I got really bored of most kids' books and movies and stuff where the villain wasn't evil enough. It's like what we talked about before. Like I got bored with the villain always going down easy.
Hmm.
I wanted darker stuff. So, my favorite books when I was a kid was Watership Down and the Warriors series. Books with actual, weight to them, I guess. Um, I mean, Marvel and Mystic could never hold a candle to those books, but that's kind of what I had in mind when I wrote this.
Hmm.
At least the original darker version, which will never see the light of day. But
Yet.
I don't know how dark the current version is. There's lots of glitter and sparkles involved in the current version, but I mean, it's still a feel good, happy story in the end. But I guess this book is written for those weird kids like me.
I guess I'm one of those weird kids.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely like, I'm waiting. Like I'm waiting for like I don't want the author to say anything at all. I don't want the villain to be an anti-hero or anything. I want them to be the true antagonist. I want it to be like a normal novel where you go on with the protagonist thinking the protagonist's gonna win and they lose.
Yeah, somebody make this happen.
I'm a
I
cackle a
want to
little
see
bit.
it.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna cackle at the protagonist losing, dying. Ooh, Uh, I feel like I should not say these things online. Um, it's highlighting my twisted nature a little bit too much for my comfort. Um,
Yeah, that's okay. I write because therapy is expensive, so
oh,
I get
oh my God, that's a new quote.
you.
That's a new quote I need to be using. That,
I don't know. Maybe I saw that on a T-shirt or something, so I'm not going to take credit for it. But if it ain't the truth,
but it is the truth. It is the truth. um, so what to you are the most important elements of good writing?
hmm, good writing. Yeah, I don't think I'm the correct person to ask that. Good writing, huh?
Seeing as you won the Waddies, I think we should all
Eh,
be following by example.
That's open for a debate, but
Mm,
maybe I guess for me the most important elements of a well written book are the characters.
yep,
This
thank
is the
you.
personal. Yeah, your characters are like they're your reader's eyes and ears in the story, you know,
Mhm,
in this entire world that you created. And okay, they don't have to be like completely likable. It's actually good if they're not completely likable. I like that. I read some pretty despicable characters, but that's the thing. I loved reading them. That's the key.
mhm.
They have to be ride worthy. So you have to give readers a reason to root for them or to enjoy being inside their heads, because otherwise, I don't think they can get very involved in your story. Otherwise,
Mhm. Yep,
so
that's exactly put it exactly how I was gonna say. I feel like, in my
yeah.
opinion, character depth. We need to have characters growing, regressing, staying the same, not budging, moving forward,
Mhm.
moving backwards, taking 3 steps forward, ending 8 steps backwards. We need characters to be characters. We need characters to
Yeah.
be people for real. If we're being
They need to
honest.
be they need to be flawed.
Yep.
Like, they don't have to be goody goody, they can be dirtbags, but you
Yes.
just
And I feel like and I feel like characters, like we said, they don't have to be good character, morally good characters. They
Mhm.
they just need to be either they just need to be unique and they need to be a person. Like they,
Need to be interesting, like, I need to have a
yeah.
reason to spend, like, the next few hours reading this book with them, because otherwise I am shelving it.
Like honestly, like I don't want to see a geeky character getting to the top school because they're smart. Like okay, what is interesting about them? Oh, maybe this
Yeah.
character they want to sacrifice everybody at their school to get into that top
Hey,
school. So they
tell me
sabotage
more about
people.
that character, I like that.
Yeah. Maybe just even at a level of depth, the person that's more likely to get into that school is their best friend. So now they have to betray
Mhm.
that person. But they love their best
Yeah.
friend. That's their
See,
best
that's
friend.
that's
Like you see,
that's an interesting story right there,
and
I wanna read more about that story.
like that character, she's not morally right, but she would definitely be fun to read about.
Yeah. Like, maybe live vicariously through, who knows? I don't know.
mm write a serial killer book. I'm waiting on that as well. Anyway, um, how do you balance your personal life, work, etc., with your writing life?
Hmm. Well, that's easy because sometimes I just don't write. But
Okay.
but seriously though, I do have a planner, and I jot down writing goals for myself each week and every month. Like, for example, I say, "Hey, have chapters 5 and 6 written by the end of the week," or whatever.
Mhm,
And I don't always hit that goal, but it does help me stay on track. Um,
mm,
right now I've actually got a writing hiatus penciled in until mid-March, so that's why I haven't written anything. I'm just I'm
mhm,
taking a break, focusing on reading and drawing for the time being. So
mhm.
that's how I do it.
Which I do think, as in the writing community, we don't emphasize breaks enough. Breaks are healthy. We love breaks, guys. In moderate
You don't
amounts.
have
Like you don't
you don't
have to
have
bust out 18 books in 1 year, love. That's not
exactly.
that's not it. um but if you need a break, if you need to take mental time off or just not even mental time, maybe you just want a break. Um
Yeah, maybe you got other hobbies you wanna do, and that's good. You gotta,
Diversify.
stretch your brain a little bit.
hmm Like that's okay, and I feel like we don't normalize that enough in the writing community because it's just like if you
Exactly.
haven't published a book within every 2 weeks of the year, you're not worth talking to. You're not an
Can
author.
you
You're
even
not
call
even like
yourself a
yeah.
writer?
You're not even writing enough. um. So how would you and your main character get along?
Okay, so I was so close to saying yes because Marvela is an itty bitty adorable kitty and I'm a crazy cat lady. But then I realized that I'd pretty much just be like Lolly with her suffocating hugs. So no, I don't think Marvela would appreciate me at all. Sadly.
I think that we would have like a hate to friendship relationship. Cause me, don't get me wrong, I love animals, but I just don't like Marvela breaking into the people's houses or all that type of
Committing
stuff.
crime.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be looking at her like, child, uh, and then
She
especially if I
committed a
have to
felony,
nag.
but she's cute. She's cute, so it's okay.
Okay, no, black cats for me, no, they don't do it. Like, I'm
I've got
sorry,
a
like,
black cat in my lap right now. How dare you? He's purring.
it's nothing against black cats. It's just like, what are you up to? What are you?
That's fair. That's fair. What is he up to? He's up to a lot of not good stuff. He did bite me. He did bite me earlier. That's right.
Huh.
That happened.
But yeah, especially when they have like darker eyes. I'm like, huh, that's even more shady. Um,
They're up to some shady shit.
Especially if it's nighttime and you just broke into my house. Hmm.
And all you see is just eyeballs because they
Yeah.
blend into the dark.
Just gonna be like, hmm. So that's
To
why
be
I feel like.
fair,
Go ahead.
it was it was Curious who instigated it. I'm pointing my finger at the rat. It was his fault. It was
Oh,
his
if I
video.
see a cat and a rat together, I'm gonna automatically assume the cat is doing me a favor.
Aw.
But then when they start talking to me, so assuming that I would have magic, which I definitely would, spirits bless me.
Hell
Um,
yeah.
um, when they start talking to me, I'll just be like, you're actually pretty chill in your mood, so we can be friends. But the breaking into my house, with them weird dark eyes in the middle of the night, you already
Like
got
I have a doorbell. You can use that. That's
yeah,
okay.
like, and then I'm already paranoid. When I'm home alone, I gotta make sure I check every door. I check every door before anybody leaves this house because it's just like, because I ain't trying to find nobody in this house with me alone. So that's how it be.
And that's fair. I can accept that.
I got trust issues from high school. We don't talk about it.
Oh.
Especially, I feel like it's deep. I feel like high school gives children trust issues all the time.
High school and middle school, those are just trauma, just years of trauma.
Yeah, middle school gave me insecurities. That's what middle
Yeah,
school gave
middle
me.
school was I don't know, we don't talk about middle school.
Mhm. Um, how did you select the names of your character? Sa characters.
Um, Characters. For my main characters, I think the names just kind of pop into my head, and for the most part, they stick. I think though, except for Marvela, her name used to be Matilda in like the original version, but I
Why did
changed
you
her
change
name.
that?
So there is a reason because there is a book about a magical girl called Matilda by
uh,
Roald Dahl. It's like,
mhm.
wait, I can't do that. So now she's Marvela because it sounds like marvelous and it goes with mystic. I thought it
Yeah.
sounded cute. Um, yeah, for the most part, they just kinda stick. I think actually everyone had different names in the original draft for some reason.
Hmm.
Like, I think I had over 5 characters whose names started with M,
Hmm.
and I don't remember my reasoning for that, but it was probably really dumb. Don't do that. Don't have characters that all start with the same letter, especially in the same scene.
Yeah.
I had lots of comments about that.
The only time you can do that if that's kind of the point. Like if you're trying to make
Yeah,
poke fun at that, or if like you're a society and all of you guys are letter M.
yeah. So, Azra, her name used to be Mordred.
Oh,
Branwyn used to be what was her name? Morrigan, and Sable was Mabel. So you can imagine the first scene in the cottage where all 4 characters are there together and they all start with M.
yeah.
Especially when like you're being introduced to
To
them
the
for the very
characters,
first time.
yeah.
I had
E-
readers like, "Hey, this is too much,"
Even
and I was
I,
like, "Yeah,
cause
you're
I think I'm a speed reader, so sometimes it doesn't be the author's fault. It's just I read very quickly, so I will get confused on who's saying what at certain points, and having the names be very different helps me distinguish that. And then also having a
right."
unique character identity, because sometimes I can just pick up and be like, Marvela would not say that. That had to be a different character.
Yeah, yeah. So I try to pick names that kind of like match the character. So Curious, obvious for obvious reasons, and then Freckle because it's cute, and then Lolly sounds like Lolly. So yeah. I think for some side characters, I just went to babynames.com and I just picked a name and that was it.
So, what was the most surprising thing you learned from being an author?
Um, I think the most surprising thing was that I can actually write and finish a book.
Oh
That
wow!
was pretty surprising.
Oh wow!
And
Wow!
like, I don't know, maybe some people will like it. I don't know.
I
um,
feel like the most interesting thing I've probably learned from being an author. I write don't call the FBI. I write a lot of horror and
mm,
dark things. Is how long a body takes to dissolve in acid. Um.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that is interesting. How long does it take to dissolve a body in acid?
From my recollection, which is not
Speak
good.
into this microphone.
From my recollection, which is notably not good, as I keep forgetting the antagonist's name, it takes 48 hours to 72 hours, depending on the acidity. That was not how you pronounce that word. Depending on the concentration of acid in the substance. Notably, I can use bleach and soak your body for 2 weeks, and there would be no trace of my DNA or yours.
Well, isn't that fun? I learned something new today.
Yeah, but I have a crazy character, so that's all you need to know.
Those are the best kinds of characters.
Yeah. So, guys, I'm not a murderer. It's just my character is, okay? Um, so what what characters in your books are most similar to people you know?
Well, Marvel is kind of like my cat. Does that count?
That does count. You know your
I
cat.
don't, yeah, I don't think there's anyone in Marvel that's based off of people I know.
Mhm. But
Even
like, do
if
you
you
see
ignore
like
the fact that,
any overlaps between like any character's personality and um real life people's personality? It doesn't even have to be someone you know. Maybe it could be a celebrity.
mm, I don't know. I can't think of any celebrities right now, but I think Curious is kind of like the wise, cracking sidekick, and that's the kind of character that appears in my books a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, but like even if you ignore that the vast majority of the cast are animals, I don't know if
Hmm.
there's anyone.
Which is I thought that would be more weird than it actually was. A major concern that I had was that the cast were mostly animals, so I was not sure how you would properly articulate that these are not people.
I tried to make them equally human and equally animal.
Hmm.
And I got one piece of feedback that said maybe you should consider making your animals less human because they pointed out that you made Marvela smile and cats can't really smile. So maybe make her act more like a cat. But I don't know if I agreed with that because I feel like human characters will be empathized with more. So I wanted to
Yeah.
keep just a little bit of humanity in them, but also remind readers that yes, these are animals.
I think you did a really good job of it because I was. I definitely think when you're writing non-human characters, you have to add a bit of human traits in them because humans just we're selfish. We only
Yeah,
like
we live
ourselves.
for other humans.
Hmm. So I definitely think it was a wise decision not to like make the characters any more animalistic.
Right.
Um, mm, so how do you use social media as an author?
Social media. Wattpad. I'm on Wattpad all the time. I see Wattpad getting a lot of flack as a website, but I love it. I love the people that I met through it. Other than that, you won't really I don't think you'll really find me much on other social media sites, specifically as an author. Instagram, I do use Instagram. Um, I post out of art of my Wattpad stories there. Sometimes, um, I'm Jelly Ghost 14 on Instagram, look me up, I'd like to follow more Wattpad people there. Um, and oh, I just started a TikTok for my writing actually. I have no idea how TikTok works. Honestly, I think I'm too old for it, but I'm watching YouTube videos about how to use it, so we'll get there. I'm Jellygoes14 there too, if you wanna go and point and laugh at my attempt at TikToking.
Mhm. Which is kind of interesting. Like I
That's
haven't
it.
like I definitely know some of the authors I interviewed in the past have a TikTok, but I'm just very confused on what authors put on TikTok. Maybe that's just me.
Still getting the hang of it, but, I post, like, my art there on there,
Hmm.
sometimes, and then if I post a new chapter, I'll post, like, a quote from the chapter with some cool music and a cool background saying, "Hey, read this on Wattpad now." That's what I use it for.
So we are coming to our last five questions, and I'm just giving you a heads up because that means, unfortunately, we're almost finished with this
Aw.
episode. So the first of the last five is what are you currently reading?
Um, so I'm reading 2 things on Wattpad. I'm reading a book called A Taste of Home.
Hmm.
It's by Sandy Dragon One, and shout out to that book because I'm really loving it so far. So it's a gay romance with an asexual lead between
Hmm.
a human and a chupacabra.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and like I'm an ace aromantic person myself, so I definitely appreciate seeing more ace protagonists pop up in media nowadays. And it's a very unique book, and if you're into that, then definitely check it out. It's pretty unique, and the characters are great. I love them. Like I said, characters are really important to me as a reader. Off Wattpad, I'm reading a book called "They Both Die at the End" by I
Oh,
think.
wow.
Let me.
By Adam?
Yeah, Adam Silvera. Have you read it?
Yep, it's on my shelf, one of my favorites. So I separate my shelves into favorites, okay books, good books, bad books. If I bought a book,
It's so
I'm
good
not
so
gonna read it.
far.
Yes, it
I
really is.
haven't
I can't
finished
wait till
it.
you get to the end. The end is the best part.
I I haven't gotten very far, but I'm crazy about it. I think one of the leads is also Ace, right? Maybe? I think so.
I think one is gay and one is bisexual. I
Yeah,
don't know.
the other guys buy. It's really again, the characters are enjoyable. I love them,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to finishing it, but also I'm not looking forward to finishing
Yeah,
it because
I understand that.
I don't yeah, I don't want them to die. But no, that's not a spoiler. But I'm really loving it so far. So I'm glad it's good. I'm glad to hear it's good.
Hmm. So, who was your most memorable reader?
um, okay, so I had one reader who read the first few chapters of Marvela Mystic, the original creepy version.
Hmm.
And it gave me tons of good feedback. I mean, it was scalding in some places, but it was good feedback. It helped a lot.
Hmm.
Um, but they got to the Rat King part, the original Rat King
Hmm.
part, and they told me that they would rather eat spiders than read more about the Rat King. And I cherish that comment. That is my all-time favorite comment that I have ever received on any of my books. I cracked up so hard reading that.
Hmm.
They were I mean, they were honest, they meant it, but, I mean, hey, they had a point. So,
Now
I
you're
I
just making me
ner
want to read this scene.
I don't know if I probably still have it somewhere, but,
Hmm.
yeah, I nerfed the Rat King just for them.
Just for them. Here you go, mystery reader. You heard it first in here now.
Rather eat spiders. I love it.
Okay. So, what perspectives or beliefs have you challenged with this work?
Um, Perspectives or beliefs. I you know, I don't think I've done that, not with
Hmm.
this work. But then again, like, I didn't really set out to challenge anything. Marvel and
Hmm.
Mystic is a very simple story. It's meant to be a simple story. I just wanted to write a book about a magical cat. If any readers found themselves challenged by the story, then that's great. That's completely valid. Everything is up to interpretation after all, but
Hmm.
if I'm being honest, I don't know. I don't think I challenged anything with it.
um, I would. I didn't draw that. Like I said, from my previous points, yeah, I think it was about change. That's what I personally got from it.
Yeah, maybe, maybe.
Mhm. But do you hide secrets in your books that only few people will find? Like for me,
Mm.
in each chapter there's a little a little puzzle that readers can figure out.
There's a puzzle? Like what kind of puzzle?
A word puzzle.
Oh. And does like the solution have something to do with the story?
Yeah, has lower implications.
Well, that's cool. I like that idea. I don't know if I did anything with that, especially not in Marvel and Mystic. I do have um I think I did have a few in Rise because
Hmm.
that was originally meant to be the first book in a trilogy. So like there were lots of little one-off moments that were meant to be jokes or like little innocuous things that actually hinted at very important scenes in the next
Hmm.
books. For,
I love that.
for yeah, for example, like, and I can spoil my own story because this series is canceled. It will never happen. But in this one scene, that's actually one of my favorite scenes in that book. They're the two male leads are they're broing out together, drunk as hell in a really shady bar.
Hmm.
And one of them ends up falling out of his chair and face planting on the floor in front of everyone. And the characters all laugh and they joke about it, but the dialogue they used is actually meant to be repeated again
Hmm.
in the third book when that character eventually falls to his death.
Oh,
So,
oh wow.
yeah. I mean, there's other little things like that. I love the idea of having little secrets in my stories. I should do more of that. That's fun.
Mm, I think I don't think you should be telling me this because now I want to read Rise, and now I want to.
No, you don't. No, you
I
don't.
want
You
to.
do not.
I want the sequel and the third book of the trilogy
No,
because
not happening. That book is garbage.
no
Very few people actually made it to the end of that book, and those that did are champions. I don't know how they
not
did that.
champions. maybe you should hold a weekly read, not a weekly, a yearly, annually reading competition of completing Rise. I feel like
Oh
that could be
God,
good.
no, that sounds cruel. I wouldn't put that on anyone. That's
Cruel.
no.
Oh. Well, for our last question for the day, it is what can we expect for you? What can we expect from you in the future? So I'm very interested in this answer.
Um, Future projects. So I am working on a current project, and I guess it's also my future project because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be working on this for a while.
Hmm.
Um, it's called The Dark Between Dreams Chronicles, and it's an anthology trilogy with each book following a different member of the main trio.
Hmm.
And it's an LGBT story about sword wielding ghosts that fight monsters in the afterlife. And it's
I
probably
did
the
I
most.
is it previewed in Marvela Mystic?
There is, yeah. They're the first chapter of the book.
Hmm.
And it's probably the most absurd thing I'm ever going to write.
I wouldn't
So
count on it.
the first book the first book is actually completed. It's called The Dark Between Dreams. I'm editing it off Wattpad though because the current draft is kind of embarrassing and it's in desperate need of polishing. So if anyone reads it now, I apologize in advance. I can do better, I swear. Like I said, it was written for ONC, so it was written in a rush and it really shows. And then the second book in that series, it's called Hollow is the Heart. And I got two chapters away from finishing it before I realized, wait, no, this book is too much of a bummer, even for me. So that book is currently unpublished except for the first five chapters, and it's next on my rewrite list.
Hmm.
This book, that book is strange. It's very absurd. There was a scene where the main character fights a ghost elephant with a sword,
A
and
ghost elephant?
it gets crazier in the next draft. So I'm pretty excited for that. I'm having a good time writing the series. I don't know if you can tell.
I can.
And there's the third and final book, which I hope to begin writing next year. Right now, I don't really have a plot for it. I just have a bunch of plot bunnies that I have yet to wrangle together. But I have the cover and the graphics already made for it.
And
Um,
snaps to that because the cover,
yeah,
funnest part.
I like I like making covers and graphics for my stories
Yes,
more than I
I
do
have a
writing.
5 book series, and I'm not even close. I haven't even touched. I only outlined the fourth and the fifth book. Haven't even wrote not one page on there. Yet I got the whole covered. Perfect.
Yes, that's what I do. Like I make covers for books that I know I'm not even gonna write, but I wanna make the cover 'cause
Yes.
it looks pretty.
And then I try to justify it and be like, I'll get to it someday.
Yeah, maybe it'll motivate me, and then it doesn't.
And then I'll come back and update the cover.
Yeah, I'll update the cover, and then I'll make, like, the chapter headers, for the chapters I'm not
Hmm.
gonna write.
Yeah.